The movie opens in Parma Heights, Ohio, where Frank Moses, a retired man, lives a quiet and lonely life. His days are simple, but he has one small routine that keeps him happy. He often calls Sarah Ross, a customer service agent at his pension office in Kansas City. To keep talking to her, Frank tears up his pension checks, then calls to say they never arrived. Over time, their conversations become warmer, and they slowly develop feelings for each other. Sarah loves reading cheesy romance and spy novels, so Frank reads every book she mentions just so he can talk to her about them. One night, Frank suddenly wakes up and realizes armed men have broken into his house. They move through the darkness, thinking they have the advantage, but Frank is already behind them. He takes them down one by one, then sets a trap in the kitchen before collecting hidden money and weapons. More mercenaries surround the house and open fire, completely destroying it. But Frank calmly fights back and kills every attacker before disappearing. Meanwhile, in Kansas City, Sarah returns home after a bad date. Inside her apartment, she is shocked to find Frank already there. He has packed her bag and even vacuumed her apartment, which makes him look even creepier. Sarah panics and tells him to leave, but Frank explains that someone is trying to kill him, and because they listen to his phone calls, Sarah is now in danger too. She screams, while Frank awkwardly says he had hoped their first meeting would happen under better circumstances. Elsewhere, a CIA operative named William Cooper receives a new assignment from his handler, Cynthia Wilkes. His target is Frank, who is described only as a retired CIA analyst. Frank takes Sarah to a motel in New Orleans and ties her to the bed to stop her from escaping. She complains that she always seems to attract losers like him, but Frank explains that he used to work for the CIA. Sarah does not believe a word of it. Before leaving, he covers her mouth with duct tape and tells her he needs to meet someone. Frank visits Joe Matheson, his terminally ill mentor, who lives in a retirement community. Frank tells him that he was attacked by a wet team, and Joe helps him investigate. Frank shows him the severed fingers from each of the attackers, and Joe makes a call. He discovers that the same people who came after Frank also killed a New York Times reporter named Stephanie Chen. At the same time, Cooper searches Frank's records and finds a pension check connected to Sarah. Back at the motel, Sarah manages to escape and calls 911. A police officer arrives and offers to take her home, but he is actually part of the operation. He grabs Sarah and injects her with a drug. Frank appears just in time to rescue her. They steal the police car, and while Sarah is still high, she admits that she finds Frank handsome. Suddenly, Cooper rams his car into theirs, and Frank gets out and opens fire. While Cooper ducks for cover, Frank and Sarah escape. Frank then tricks the police over the radio by reporting a suspect driving a black SUV. Cooper drives straight into Frank's trap and is arrested by the police. When Sarah wakes up, she realizes they are in New York City. Frank hopes she understands the situation better now, but Sarah reminds him that she was kidnapped, drugged, and taken there by a bald man. Still, she thanks him for saving her. They go to Chinatown to investigate Stephanie Chen's death. They visit Stephanie's mother, who shows them a card Stephanie received on the day she died. It contains mysterious numbers. Frank recognizes the numbers as a classification for Asian literature, then impresses Sarah by speaking fluent Chinese. They find the matching book, and inside it is a hidden list of names. Most of the people on the list have recently died under suspicious circumstances. Frank tries calling one of the few men still alive, but learns he has just been murdered. Meanwhile, Cooper visits Henry, the CIA's secret records keeper. When he asks to see Frank's file, he finds that almost everything has been blacked out. Henry explains that Frank Moses was not merely an analyst, but one of the most effective Black Ops agents the CIA ever had. After Frank retired, he was classified as Red, meaning retired, and extremely dangerous. Frank and Sarah travel to find Marvin Boggs, another former Black Ops agent. Marvin lives in an underground hideout because he is extremely paranoid and believes the government watches everyone through phones, satellites, and almost everything else. Frank shows Marvin the list of dead people, and Marvin checks his old files. Marvin discovers that 5 of the names, excluding Frank and himself, were all connected to a secret mission in Guatemala in 1981. A village was destroyed there, and their job was to make the entire incident disappear. Realizing they are being hunted because of that old mission, Marvin excitedly prepares his old weapon, which he calls the pig. At first, Marvin suspects Sarah and thinks they should get rid of her, but Frank refuses because he likes her. Then Marvin spots a helicopter and memorizes its number. Sarah finds that one of the surviving names on the list, a man named Gabriel Singer, will be at an air freight terminal the next day. The next morning, the trio goes to the terminal. Marvin suddenly grabs a woman, convinced that she has been following them. Frank searches her bag but finds nothing suspicious. He tells Marvin to get in the car, but Marvin remains convinced that the woman is following them. They meet Singer, who admits that Stephanie Chen had asked him about Guatemala, but he claims he did not tell her anything. Frank warns him that everyone connected to Guatemala is being killed. Suddenly, Marvin sees the same helicopter from earlier. Before they can react, Singer is shot and killed. Cooper has ordered the attack, and Frank, Sarah, and Marvin are forced to escape. The woman Marvin suspected earlier returns, now armed and shooting at them. Marvin opens the pig, revealing a powerful weapon, and they fight back. The woman then fires an RPG, but Marvin shoots the next rocket midair, destroying it before it can hit them. Frank admits it was a great shot, and the group escapes. Later, Marvin says there is only one place where they can find the truth, but breaking in will probably get them killed. They need serious help. Frank goes alone to the Russian embassy and asks to meet Ivan Simonov, a former Russian secret agent. Ivan is surprised to see him, since he has wanted to kill Frank for years for supposedly murdering his cousin, Igor. However, Frank reveals that Igor is still alive and that he convinced him to switch sides. Igor now owns a string of 7-Eleven stores in Orange County. Frank then asks Ivan to help him break into the CIA. Ivan initially refuses, but changes his mind when Frank offers to owe him a favor. With Ivan's help, Frank and Sarah infiltrate the CIA. Sarah gets excited that she finally gets to come along. In the elevator, she helps Frank bypass security by pretending to drop his contact lens, distracting the guards long enough for Frank to use it for authentication. They reach the secret records floor, where Frank meets Henry, the records keeper. Henry is happy to see him and helps him find the Guatemala files. He also reveals that Cooper came looking for Frank's file earlier. Frank warns Henry to take care of himself. Frank then runs into Cooper and the two fight. Cooper proves he is highly trained, but Frank quickly realizes who trained him. When Cooper confirms it was Kordeski, Frank says he trained Kordeski himself, then dislocates Cooper's arm. Frank escapes but is shot in the shoulder. He triggers the fire alarm, grabs Sarah, and creates an explosion using chemicals in a nearby room. Sarah tricks a fireman into helping Frank, and with Frank disguised, they escape through the chaos. Outside, they find Marvin being held at gunpoint inside their getaway ambulance. The gunman turns out to be Joe, who jokes that there is still something wrong with Marvin's head before escaping with them. Cooper asks what Frank did to deserve this, but Wilkes claims she does not know. Still bleeding, Frank says they need to go to Eagle's Nest. Marvin warns that they will definitely get killed if they go there, but they go anyway. There, Frank finds Victoria Winslow, a retired British assassin. At first, she asks if Frank has come to kill her, but he says no. Victoria then helps remove the bullet from Frank's shoulder. After reviewing the file, the team realizes that Alexander Dunning is the only person on the reporter's list who is not mentioned in the file. This makes them suspect that he has some way of protecting himself. Frank decides they need to visit him, and Victoria agrees to join them. Joe jokes that he is glad they are getting the band back together. The team disguises themselves and infiltrates Dunning's home. Victoria notices CIA agents watching the property from the woods. Joe meets Dunning in a soundproof room, pretending to do business with him. When Dunning opens the door, Frank knocks him unconscious. Outside, Sarah talks with Victoria about Frank. Victoria reveals she once loved an agent, but because she worked for MI6, she was ordered to kill him to prove her loyalty. She shot him 3 times in the chest. During the interrogation, Dunning finally confesses that the mission was to extract a young lieutenant, the son of a late senator, who is now Vice President Robert Stanton. During the mission, Stanton had a breakdown and massacred the villagers. It becomes clear that Stanton is now trying to erase every loose end as he prepares to run for president. Suddenly, Victoria warns them that their cover is blown. Cooper and CIA agents surround the house. Cooper calls and tells Frank to surrender. Frank tells him that Stanton ordered the killings to cover up war crimes in Guatemala, but Cooper does not believe him at first. Then Frank asks how Cooper knew they would be at Dunning's house. Cooper realizes something is wrong and promises no one will shoot if Frank comes out. Victoria says she can cover them to the woods, but they need a distraction. Knowing that he does not have much time left because of his cancer, Joe volunteers. A figure steps outside, and Cooper orders everyone to hold their fire. But despite his order, an agent shoots the man. Cooper runs forward and realizes it was not Frank. Frank and Marvin flee into the woods while Victoria covers their escape. Victoria and Sarah try to follow, but Sarah falls and is captured by the agents. Victoria manages to escape and catches up with the others, telling Frank that the CIA has taken Sarah. Before they can decide what to do next, Ivan suddenly pulls up in a car and helps them escape. Later, the group raises a toast to Joe. Victoria says they need to expose Stanton's crimes, but Marvin reminds them that the CIA will probably torture Sarah if they move against him. Frank becomes upset and walks away. Ivan follows Frank and shows him the 3 bullet scars on his chest. He reveals that the woman who shot him years ago was Victoria, the love of his life. Ivan says that when he woke up alive, he knew Victoria still loved him, because if she had truly wanted him dead, she would have shot him in the head. He tells Frank that people do crazy things for love. Meanwhile, Sarah is being interrogated. Cooper gets a call from Frank, who tells him that anyone's loved ones can be taken away. Cooper traces the call and realizes Frank is inside his own house. Frank threatens him, warning that if Sarah gets hurt, Cooper's family will be hurt too. Then Frank tells him he's going to kill Stanton. When Cooper rushes home, he finds the Guatemala file and the list of dead names waiting in his living room. Back at the CIA, he questions Sarah about it. Sarah tells him they found the file inside the CIA's secret records depository and confidently warns him that Frank will eat him for lunch. At Stanton's fundraising gala in Chicago, Cooper works with the Secret Service while Frank's team prepares their plan. Ivan dances with Victoria and compliments her, then quietly moves through the room, spraying a substance into the air. Victoria locks the doors using her modified necklace, and Marvin gets into position. Ivan then suddenly shouts that he smells gas, causing panic and setting off the fire alarm. The Secret Service tries to evacuate Stanton, but the locked door forces them toward another exit. As the convoy begins to move, Victoria opens fire and destroys their cars. When a backup car arrives, Ivan triggers a hidden bomb and blows it up. The agents are forced to bring Stanton back inside. Cooper reaches an unmanned heavy machine gun, while Victoria and Marvin continue blocking the Secret Service. Marvin jokes that he remembers the Secret Service being tougher. During the chaos, Victoria is shot. Marvin covers her with smoke grenades, but she tells him to leave because she will only slow him down. Victoria tries to escape alone but gets stuck as the police close in. Suddenly, Ivan appears and helps her open the door. Victoria tells him she loves him, and Ivan simply replies that he knows. Outside, Marvin runs towards Stanton and the Secret Service agents while wearing a fake suicide vest, forcing everyone to scatter. A presidential car pulls up, and Stanton jumps inside with the agents, ignoring Cooper's warning not to get in. Moments later, the driver turns around, revealing himself as Frank. Before they can react, Frank stuns them with a taser gun. Stanton wakes up as Frank drives him away. Frank tells him he was in Guatemala and saw what he did, causing Stanton to break down. Frank then calls Cooper and tells him to bring Sarah to a nearby power plant within 15 minutes, or he will kill Stanton. Cooper informs Wilkes of the location and expects the Secret Service to arrive. But when he gets there, only Wilkes, Sarah, and Dunning appear. No Secret Service agents come. Cooper immediately realizes something is wrong. Then Dunning shoots Stanton, revealing that Stanton was not the true mastermind. Dunning and Wilkes were using the situation to protect themselves and frame Frank. Dunning says Sarah can go free, but only if Frank gives himself up. Frank tells Sarah that he tore up all those pension checks just so he could keep talking to her. Sarah softly tells him she knows. Dunning orders Cooper to cuff Frank. Cooper does it, but by now, he understands that Wilkes and Dunning are corrupt. Quietly, he slips Frank the handcuff key. Dunning then explains that the world will believe Frank killed both Stanton and Sarah, but Frank unlocks himself and starts walking toward them. Cooper shoots Wilkes, and Frank's team emerges from the shadows, taking out Dunning's men. Frank reaches Dunning and crushes his throat, finally ending the conspiracy. Cooper says he will take care of everything. Suddenly, Marvin shoots Dunning again, then casually asks if anyone wants pancakes. Later, Frank and Sarah ride happily with the others, relieved that no one is chasing them anymore, but Ivan reminds Frank that he still owes him a favor. Marvin is shocked that Frank promised Ivan anything, and Ivan explains that it is only a small nuclear problem in Moldova. Sarah asks if they can go, and Frank agrees. The two kiss, ready for another dangerous adventure. In the final scene, Frank and Marvin are in Moldova, being shot at by soldiers. As bullets fly around them, Marvin complains that he thinks Moldova sucks. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy to hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice, just to be sure. It would be best if you watched the whole movie. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this.